We are looking for our microbial ancestors that are living currently in Uruguayan waters. We're trying to understand the biological events that led to this broad diversity of complex cellular life that exists on the planet.
If you look at all the different living things on Earth, from the tiniest bacterium or microorganism up to what we think of as simple animals like sponges, up through more complex animals like sharks or humans, they all started out from the same blueprint. They're all related. There was some point, long time ago, we think 2 billion-ish years ago, where we split off from other much smaller life forms, things we call microbes. So we are out here to try and learn what happened 2 billion years ago when cells went from being simple to being complex and gave rise to all the plants and animals and fungi that we can see with our own eyes today. Billions of years ago, the planet formed. We think that it started out lifeless. And the way that life first appeared on the planet is a whole other mystery. But we think that gradually organic molecules started to come together into simple cells. And some of these simple cells are similar to what we now know as bacteria and archaea. We think that Asgard Archaea and alpha proteobacteria started working together for some reason. It might have had to do with how they get food. It might have had to do with how they survive their environment. We're not sure, but we'd love to find out. At some point, they eventually merged so that the bacteria were living inside the archaeal cells. The bacteria became a subcompartment inside the cell called the mitochondria that generates energy, power, for the rest of the cell to run. And the entire system became more complex and interconnected until we ended up with what we now know as a eukaryote or complex cell. Now we call this process eukaryogenesis. The complex cell didn't stop there. Fish are made of complex cells. Trees, you and me, we're all made of many of these complex eukaryotic cells. Turns out that those two kinds of organisms, the simple organisms, their relatives are still alive today. So here in the South Atlantic off of Uruguay, we are trying to find those living relatives. The waters off of the Rio de la Plata are full of organic chemicals that we think would make great food for these microbes.
We're trying to understand the biological events that led to the first eukaryotic cells. Why did these two cells merge? What happened after they merged? What did the cells look like before they merged? All of those things are sort of a mystery because it happened so long ago. By finding descendants of these cells, we get a much better understanding of those events, hopefully. These organisms, we didn't know they existed 10 years ago. Finding what we have found has completely revolutionized our understanding of evolution of life on the planet, our origins, and it just gets more exciting. Like the more we learn about the Asgards, the more exciting it gets. We're starting to see the first images of them under a microscope, and they have these arms. We think that they grab other cells with their arms, and we think that may be how they initiated their merger with the bacterium.
Para nosotros en Uruguay esta es una oportunidad única. La posibilidad como tenemos en esta campaña de tener injerencia desde la transecta y qué queremos sacar de cada estación es muy inusual.
And that's bottle 3.
When you're ready, can you fire bottles 4 through 7?
Si bien el objetivo de la campaña es encontrar a las Asgard, toda esta información va también a permitir delimitar mejor cuáles son las áreas que se consideran prioritarias para conservación.
There are many examples in history of fundamental discoveries about cell biology leading to breakthroughs in medicine and genetics, and I think that the work we're doing here is no exception.
Microbes are driving and sustaining life on our planet, particularly those in the ocean. They provide us with oxygen, and they even break down pollutants. These microbes actually are what we evolved from. Understanding them will unlock understanding to our origins and our future on this planet.